Okay, so Loving What Is, the book from Byron Katie, is a really amazing practical guide for disrupting those old neuro pathways that have you going down the same path you've always gone down. As Paul said, you know, what is it? Or be dragged?
Let go.
Let go
or be dragged.
or be dragged.
Yeah.
You wanna really disrupt. We've been talking about disruption of the way things have always gone. Mm-hmm. You know where that path goes. Let's disrupt it and go somewhere different.
Yeah.
Loving What Is provides an active tool on how to do that. Now, just with anything, it's a great tool and it takes mastering to really get it to a certain place. And this one has practical ways of doing the work, and we've included in all the downloads everything about this, a little overview on her book. You can get her book if you want to as well, but we've provided as much as we can in this. It's quite in depth. It's a whole thing and it's wonderful.
Before you share these stories, I want to share a quick story about Russell, my best friend. We were driving to Mammoth going snowboarding. We were listening to Loving What Is in the car. And it's really cool because Byron Katie says a thought occurs, and my buddy Russell's was that his mom and dad were like overbearing and in his business or something, like something that from his teenage years, that he realized in that car ride that what the way he thought about his parents, what he was keeping his parents in that place for his whole life. And she goes, the questions are, is the very first one is like a thought occurs, and she says, is it true? And so Russell's like, he asked himself the question, is it true that my parents are this way? And he literally, through going through a few of the questions, within 15 minutes, he was able to get complete of the story that he was making up about his mom and dad. And he's in his mid-40s, and on that trip, like that, he's like, Paul, and he shared with me a year later, he's like, Paul, from that trip, I let go that my mom and dad were that way for me forever, and now I can actually just be with them with who they are instead of the past and a story that I was making up about them. And it transformed his relationship to his parents in 15 minutes. So it's very powerful. It's a thought occurs, and the first question you say, is that true? So what's a thought that could come up?
Well, let's just go with what you said. You know, the thought was his parents were overbearing in his business, judgmental, and so the thought was that. And then he got to say, is that true? And so he might be, it's true.
If your answer is yes, there's more work to do.
So then the second question is, can you absolutely know that it's true? Mm-hmm. Now, this is my favorite one, and this is what has me just get into a disruption all the time. If I'm on one about something, you can be like, is it true? And I'll be like, yes. And then when you're like, can you absolutely know that it's true? And that always pulls me right up.
Yeah.
Because there is no absolute truth. There isn't. And so, you might have a lot of evidence that pulls for something to be true, but in absolution, can you really know that it's true? So that always has me pulled up and be like, well, I guess from their perspective, or I guess from this, and it has me actually really question what I'm really digging in on.
Right. But if you do answer and say that it is absolutely true, you go to step 3.
And the step 3 is, how do you react? What happens when you believe that thought?
And you write out these answers.
So
how do you
I'm
react?
Angry, I'm judgmental, I'm righteous.
I shut down.
Yeah. All the things.
And you do this work with so when you believe that thought about your parents, say for example, then you write down how you react to it, what happens when you have that thought. And so what Byron Katie is teaching is expanding on that thought and expanding on your reactions and expanding on who you have to be to believe that thought. So she's getting somewhere. The fourth question is that who
or what would you be without the thought?
And that's the one. That's like all of a sudden the fields can open and freedom can start to seep in.
Yeah,
Who or
If
what?
I wasn't being judgmental or righteous, who would I be in this moment?
Yeah, without that thought.
Yeah, without that thought, like if I wasn't being that. And so you get to unpack, because when you're judgmental and righteous and right and all those things, it doesn't actually feel very good. You might be on one and be like, yes, this is how it's supposed to go, but it doesn't feel good. So if you actually could pigeon what those feelings were and go, who would I be without this right now? That's when you can start uncovering things, peeling back the layers and go, hey, what if I could just be loving in this situation?
Yeah.
What if I could love that this person is that way, and no matter how I react to it, they're going to be that way until they're not that way.
Yes.
You know, we're not in control of anybody else's feelings, emotions, how they react. We're not.
Right.
We'd like to think we are, especially with our children, but we're not. All we can control is the way we react to stimulus that happens around us. You can't control anything outside of you that happens, but you can control the way you react. And so this is a way of fine-tuning that to truly loving what is. Byron Katie talks about her kids always left their socks on the ground. And she was so infuriated by it.
And her thought was my kids should pick up their socks. And then she asked herself, is it true? And she's like, yes, those kids should pick up their socks. And she's like, how do I know that it's true? How do I know absolutely that it's true? And then she says to be still and be quiet and wait for your heart's response, not your mind's response to it.
Yeah, your heart. Tune in. Breathe into it. Truly ask the questions.
And then she says, how does she react? And what happens when she believes the thought that her kids should pick up her socks? Because everyone's going to agree with her, right?
Yeah, of course they should.
Right.
Yeah.
And then that's such a great, you guys are going to hear that in the audiobook, or if you get the book, this story of her talking about her kids with her socks.
This is like YouTube. You can just search her on YouTube and watch her
interact with people.
Doing the work with someone. It's really mind-opening.
Yeah. And then she thought, who or what would I be without the thought my kids have to pick up their socks? And instead of her being frustrated and angry and furrow-browed, angry mom with the kids should, she just was like, kids are fine with the socks being on the floor. So it's not true that the kids should, because in their world, they're totally fine. And she was suffering. The kids were free. They were fine with their socks on the floor. So she just let it go. And before long, everything shifted because of her resenting, angry, frustrated.
What you resist, you persist,
right? That's right. Mm-hmm. And she tells the story better, so check it out. You guys are going to love it about this.
But then the kids started picking up their own socks.
They did.
Without her resistance,
they did.
Without her aggression about it, they just naturally started picking up their own socks without her saying a word.
Sure. They weren't imprisoned to her anger or her resentment and frustration. So this is another tool that we're so excited to share in restoring love and affinity with anyone. If your neighbor put something on your lawn and it's infuriating,
your neighbor doesn't clean up the dog do from the lawn.
You go to the website, which is dothework.org or .com. We'll put it in the list below. It's Do the Work. You can just Google Byron Katie Do the Work. Yeah. And Kate also included a PDF here that you can download. But the website, her website, Loving What Is and Do the Work, is just, it's rich. Rich with insights and tools for you to set yourself free.
And have love and affinity and freedom and commitment and all of the things that you want. Because if we're not taking up our mind space with these niggly things the damn neighbor should get rid of the doggy do and this and this and this.
Right.
If our mind isn't filled with things that don't matter to us, we can then fill it with all the things that do matter with us.
That's right.
And that's where freedom comes. That's where fulfillment comes. That's where we get to live the life of our dreams.
Yeah. So let's live the life of our dreams.
Yeah,
this is just another beautiful tool for you guys. We love Byron Katie and want to share it with you. So enjoy. Do the work.
Do the work. Do the work. Set yourself free. Freedom is yours.
Yes, anything that you're stuck with, go to that, do the work and do all the work. Judge your neighbor. There's a whole thing. You get to be super judgmental about the person and first.
Yeah, you get to be nasty.
And then that kind of breaks you free from that.
Because when we name what is, we can move it. We don't have to pretend to be nice. We get to be free in our self-expression.
You can love it. Love what is.
Love it.
All right, bye, you guys.
So much love. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.